Hello, our cat loving friends. It's Linda Hall, co host of 19 Cats and Counting. And if you have listened to us more than a few times, you've probably heard Rita recommend the book, The Lion in the Living Room. It is her favorite book. And believe me, we have a collection of behavior books written by Abigail Tucker. So we are super excited that the award-winning author, Abigail Tucker, has joined us today. And we will be back with her as soon as we get back from this ad. Hello, welcome back to 19 Cats and Counting. I am your co-host, Linda Hall, here with my beautiful BFF and business partner, Rita Reimers. How you doing, babe?
I'm so excited.
Are you excited?
You don't know how much
good?
I love.
Did I do good this time?
Book. Yes.
Do I get points for this? Oh,
you
good.
get
Phew.
you get points. You get
Oh,
points.
good. Phew.
I'll actually next time you visit, I'll actually give you a blanket to sleep on without
That's
complaint.
so nice, without complaining. That's really
I give her
nice.
daughter whatever she wants, but Linda, I'm like, oh
But
yeah,
not me.
you want a blanket.
No kidding.
Too, right?
Yeah.
Let's get
New York Times best-selling author, best-selling book of 2016, out in 13 languages. So apparently we're not her only fans. Yes, and Rita's holding up her Lion in the Living Room, which she's starting to read again. So Abigail Tucker, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So excited.
We know, look at Rita's just a little gobsmacked. It's gonna take a minute for her to come. She's just so excited. And you've got a newer book out now that we want to talk about, mom jeans. But you know, The Lion in the Living Room really stands the test. And if there's anything that we try to educate people on, it's why cats act the way they do and where they came from. And your book had the perfect explanation. You want to tell us about You want to tell us about writing it and what you found out and why?
Yes. Why did you write this book?
What made you go on this trek?
Yes. So I am a cat person. I was born into a cat family. I've always had cats. In fact, my parents said that they wouldn't have any children until they learned to teach their cats a few tricks. And one of them eventually learned to play fetch with a wine cork. And they were like, perfect. That's as tame as they're going to get. So anyways, I'm a science writer, and I've written a lot of books about animals using kind of the tools of natural history writing to understand sort of the backstories of different kinds of critters and how they came to be. And the more I sort of learned about the animal world, the stranger and the less likely the story of the house cat began to seem to me. Even though this animal had always been part of my life, I guess I didn't really understand much about who this creature was and how it came to be here and why. And, you know, writing all these sad natural history stories about this animal going extinct and that animal going extinct, you learn about, you know, the way that humanity kind of takes the world and uses it for all it's worth. But the other interesting thing about our relationship with the house cat is that we just don't get that much out of it when it comes to like stuff you can point to, like we don't eat cat eggs or wear cat fur or drink cat milk or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a relationship that defies explanation in some ways. And I think that, you know, I just kind of wanted to delve into the mystery of why these animals have so much power over us. And we've come up with a lot of explanations over the years, from, oh, they're actually witches, to, they carry a mind controlling parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. So we've made up all these weird explanations for why cats are, you know, kind of in charge of our relationship. But I wanted to find out basically what the science said.
We tell people all the time, you know, especially we get dog people. You can always tell a dog person, right? They're like, well, I tried rolling up the newspaper. It's not a dog. And, you know, we tell people all the time, you know, we domesticated dogs. We taught them to work for us and be companions and be protectors and do these jobs for us. Cats just chose to hang out, dude. And this is like really colored the rest of life.
Exactly. And what's funny is that we tend to equate cats and dogs because these are like the best companion animals. But in fact, both are outliers in terms of the arc of the way humans domesticated animals. So dogs were domesticated long before we domesticated goats and chickens and things like that. And whereas cats are still undergoing the process of domestication. So the cats are sort of the slow pokes. They're, we've never really been in charge of their domestication process. They're what scientists refer to as commensal animals. They're animals that hang out in our sphere, and we change them. They wouldn't exist without us, but we're not in charge of them. And so we think of cats and dogs as being kind of equals in our minds, but really cats are a little bit more like something like a pigeon or a rat, something that is in the human sphere and exploiting us rather than the other way around. And I think one of the funniest ways to go and like check out the difference is to attend a dog show and then a cat show. And that is like a stark, it's like, oh, here's the dog that can, detect cancer by sniffing you, or find drugs or bombs, or save you from drowning. And then you go to the cat show and it's just this like display of useless beauty and cuteness,
right.
100%. Yes.
Yeah, I'm always saying, I mean, we bred dogs for specific breeds to be working dogs for specific purposes, and they all look different. Look at each breed of cat. They look pretty much the same, except for maybe fur length, coloring. They're bred for beauty. They're not bred for any utilitarian purpose at all.
Exactly. And then the other interesting thing about that is that dogs, so many more of them are, so we are in charge of how a lot of dogs breed, especially in a place like America. You don't see dogs, wild dogs roaming the streets so much. And they, have a lot harder time surviving without us. Their hunting skills aren't as good. They don't have these pack hunting habits. Whereas cats, we only have a say over like a teeny tiny number of who breeds with who. Like most of the cats that are in our houses aren't going to breed with anyone because they've been, altered. Whereas there's this equally large sort of thriving shadow population of cats in alleyways and also in wildernesses and even in crazy places like on the tops of volcanoes or on deserted islands near Antarctica, and those guys are just breeding with abandon there,
Right.
And so that they, we may nudge one breed this way or one breed that way a little bit, but the vast majority of cats are just beyond our control, and we couldn't control them if we wanted to, in terms of like shaping the destiny of their species. Basically.
Right.
Well, and even in behavior, every once in a while, I get the client that I think, oh, I'll bet you look for that magic weight loss pill too, because it's just not that. And they get upset when we want them to do this and this, because they want us to just go in and fix the cat, right? There's a screwdriver.
There's no tool invented that we can
it's
all
like
fixed.
We have to change you and how we look at the cat. We have to understand the cat. There's a whole psychology. I love dogs, have a dog, but I'm a cat person.
I grew up with a dog. I love them too, but I am a cat person.
No, their personalities, the stuff in your book, it's that stuff. It fascinates the living heck out of me. Like I can't get enough. Like start talking to me about how whiskers have sensors in them and I'm gone. This is the most fascinating thing in the world.
They're so exquisite. And, one of the cool things that I got to do for the reporting was go to this lab where they were doing archaeology on this Neolithic village from, I think, what is modern day Turkey now. And they had sort of evidence of the first house cats coming into these settlements. And we can talk a little bit
reading that. I loved that.
You were all over the place. You were really trekking.
All over, cats get around. Lions used to be the most widely distributed land mammal, but in the 21st century, that title belongs to the cat. They are everywhere.
Yep.
And I think we used
my head at this very moment, sleeping.
Yep. I think we used to be food for cats a long time ago. Saber-toothed tiger.
Sure did. That was hilarious. I mean, this is something I think cat people think is hilarious. Is it really hilarious? I'm not sure. But basically, you learn as you start to talk about sort of the deep historical relationships between the human family and the felid family. And basically what you find is like a lot of these bone sites where archaeologists are learning about early humans are like big cat kills. They're cats killed so many of us and left our remains scattered hither and yon. And now, we can learn about ourselves through these, massacre sites, basically.
Yes.
And some scientists even have these theories that humans couldn't have grown our big brains without our relationship with the big cats, that we originally would have been what's called kleptoparasites. We would have been following around, the prehistoric equivalent of lion prides or saber-toothed tiger prides, and taking the remains of the meat that they couldn't get off the bones.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we sort of like developed this meat addiction, we were able to like grow these bigger brains. And then we started to be able to kind of compete with the cats a little more, rather than just being like these pesky little parasites stealing the trash of giant cats.
Yes.
I love this. And people who say they hate cats, they don't understand cats, but they really don't understand the history of the relationship humans have always had with felines of various types.
Exactly.
Yeah. Really, literally reading this book can really further your relationship with your cat, because you have to understand why they do stuff. And we get so many people that think their cat did this thing out of spite or vengeance, and their cat's a jerk, or their cat hates them, or whatever. And it's like, no. Everything a cat does is for a reason. Or that's my favorite. My cat peed on my shoe for no reason. No, there was a reason.
No, there's a reason.
There's a reason.
Let's unpack this and we'll talk about it. But there's definitely a reason. There's always a reason. And it's never spite or jealousy or hate. It's all built on.
It's survival. Cats are built. Everything they do is either for their own personal survival or survival of the species as a whole. I mean, that's their whole motivation for whatever they do.
Exactly. And, they can, in a way, the fact that they're in our houses at all is it's kind of a miracle. Like if you think about the way, the cat feline relationship has been always like, it's been the most bitter of rivalries, although there was sort of a mutual admiration too in these old cave paintings in France that they found from 30,000 years ago. The prehistoric guys were drawing these beautiful pictures of lions, and they clearly admired them and they feared them. And it was just this kind of, a relationship of two deadly matched foes. And then kind of in the last 100 years or so, humans have kind of permanently gotten the upper paw or upper hand over the cat family. But with this one exception, just as we have, unfortunately begun to extinguish pretty much of every one of the other several dozen kinds of cats, from mountain lions to snow leopards, all these other, beautiful felines. There is this, also amid the sadness, there's this riotous success story, which is the story of the house cat, which managed to, instead of being destroyed by the spread of humanity, they managed to exploit the conditions that we created to become, maybe the most successful land animal that the world has ever seen. And so like, when I look at my cat now, I think of it as kind of this amazing voyager who has traveled through space and time to kind of like end up on my couch, which is sort of in a way like, no matter, cats live in the craziest places, in deep bush in Australia, in the thick forests of Madagascar. In a way, our home is the strangest place and the most unnatural place for them to be. It's a true story. Mm-hmm. And they are stressed a lot of times by, this, what we think of as being like, oh, kitty, you've got it made in this house. It's like, can be a stressful place for them. And I guess that as a pet owner was a practical thing that I learned, that you have to respect this majestic little mesopredator, as scientists would call them, and realize that it's come more than halfway to meet you in your home where you live. And I love the fact that we don't get anything from cats. I think that makes our love story sort of like the purest kind of love story. It's like, I don't want anything from you. I'm not going to use you or extract anything from you. I recognize that you're extracting stuff from me, but I just love you.
I
You know?
love that.
We don't want you to fetch our slippers or our newspaper or anything. We're just there to pamper you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I just want to
We're
hang out.
besotted.
Yes,
But the thing
exactly.
is, they do give back to us.
Yeah,
It's just not
do.
expect. We don't expect it of them, but they do give back to us.
They do.
In the fact that they help us with, they help us calm, they help us with stress, they help us with our blood pressure.
Yes.
They really do at the end of a hard day help you to relax. And
Definitely.
they also have some other healing properties with their megahertz and their purring. And
Oh yeah.
Linda has experience with her daughter. Tell her about Kismet.
My daughter, Kismet, the cat that's behind my head at this moment. Sorry, everybody listening to the podcast that can't actually see the orange blob behind me, but yeah, he's always been a really special cat. It's one of those cats that I didn't want. Isn't that how that always happens? He was FIV positive. Nobody wanted him. Finally, I said, fine, I'll take him. He was in the Carolinas. I'm in Ohio. We got him here. He's just awesome. But my oldest daughter has a seizure disorder, and it just comes on randomly. For a while, it was happening more often. But we tried all the medications. She went to neurologist, cardiologist. She had all the little leads on her scalp looking like an alien and had to sleep on that thing for a couple of days. She did the whole gambit. They could not find anything to stop it. So one day she was over here and she sat down and she said, Mom, it's coming. Crap, I'm in trouble. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because she starts getting really hot. Kismet came out of nowhere, jumped on her, laid on her, and was like putting his paws on her face and purring so loudly you could hear him in the next room. And he stopped her seizure. Nothing has ever, when it starts, it's going to finish. Nothing has ever stopped it before.
And it's more than once.
So we're like, yeah, it's happened more than once. So we're like, yeah, anytime.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, of
right?
course, like when I say they don't give anything back to us, I mean that, in terms of like, if you were to make a spreadsheet of like, the goods and services provided to us by cats, like maybe, it's not a long list, but the things that they do provide, like my kids, we have gotten a new kitten recently, and I wish that she would wander this way. So I could show you guys. She is just the cutest. And I'm kind of in that giddy phase of like,
Baby.
I just can't stop giggling. Like, it's just like we are having such a good time, and you really can't put a price on that kind of enjoyment.
That's true.
In terms of like a cold-eyed exchange of like, I'm going to feed you this many calories and you're going to give me this many pounds of flesh, which is like what our humans' relationship with most domesticated animals is.
True.
It doesn't have any kind of, they're they're a luxury good. They're just something, we love them because they're beautiful.
That's
and
good.
they're so, I mean, the sensations they provide and the amusement they provide, and we just kind of, I don't know, it says good things about us that we love them, because it means that there can be a selfless capacity to humans.
There's not a day when they don't make me laugh.
Oh, no kidding. You have to know what you're looking for, and you have to understand how cats communicate, and somebody recently, I don't understand what the obsession is over cats. Dogs show you love, cats couldn't care less. I'm like, okay,
speaking of,
I get it that the dog is wagging his tail and going, and he's so happy to see you and he's waiting at the door. I get it. It's so obvious, right? Too obvious. Come on, dog. You don't have to try that hard. I like it more subtle. It doesn't mean that cats don't show them. It just means it's more subtle and we don't see it as much.
Exactly.
You got Dexter behind you?
Yes.
I can always tell when Rita gets distracted.
She got a live one down there.
This is my beautiful black kitty, Dexter. Say hi, Dexter.
Wow, it's just like a black panther.
Doesn't he? Yes.
Although I learned in my reportage that there is no such thing as a black panther. There's only black leopards and black jaguars. It's spotted cats that have a black face. A panther is a word for a mountain lion, which doesn't have a black face. So I was fascinated. I did not know that either.
That's interesting.
So that was
I would have said the same thing.
Yeah, going to the zoo, it's like, oh, well, I see a big black cat. That's a black panther, but it's it could be one of two different kinds of animals. Anyways, that's just a side.
That's pretty cool. Actually, that's pretty cool. We like learning stuff.
Actually,
we like learning stuff.
In the light, he looks more chocolate than black.
Yeah, he is gorgeous.
Isn't he beautiful? He appeared on her deck. That's the name Dexter. She had lost another cat, and she said, so help me, I am not taking in another cat unless it appears at my door.
Ding, ding, ding. You, Dexter.
And God laughed and sent Dexter to her door.
We have to take a break,
Yes,
unfortunately.
take a
But
break.
this is a great place to segue because, Abigail, you have a new book, and I think dovetails very well into what we talk about as far as cat behavior as well. So let's take a break and we'll get back and talk more about cats and Abigail's new book. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 19 Cats and Counting with my BFF and co-host Linda Hall and our special guest, author of my favorite book in the world, Abigail Tucker, author of The Lion in the Living Room. And if you want to understand your cat better and the history of where cats came into our lives and how they came to be such a big part of our lives, you've got to read that book.
Yeah, answers all the questions, So there was something that you said, and I don't remember what it was, and I wanted to follow up on it.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to me. So yeah,
I wanted to say that I love that that anecdote about Dexter, because that's how cats have always done things. People usually have to go to the pound to look for a dog, but cats have been showing up at our door for 10,000 years. They were the ones who invited themselves in, and they're still happening.
And even at the shelter, I didn't go in and go, oh, look, that's pretty, I want that. It was the cat that chose me, that followed me around and wouldn't leave me alone. And it's like, okay, I guess
the one
you're
that
coming
fooled
home.
you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Baka, we had gotten one cat and we knew that two was better. So we went back to get another cat, and Baka followed me everywhere and would just on my shoulders and leaping from counter to counter. And finally I said, okay, I think this is my lap cat that I need. I'm getting this cat. We got home and she said, see you later, sucker. And did not snuggle me once after that. She actually chose my daughter Lizzie to be her person. She was heartbroken when Lizzie went away to college, and I was so worried about her. And then she chose my husband to be her person after Lizzie left.
Still not Linda.
Still not me.
They're
the one
crafty.
that went to school, but it's all right.
Oh.
It's all right. Go ahead. Take everybody but me.
Well, hey, if Dexter had his way, he would have gone home with you and Nikki when you were.
I would have brought Dexter home, but if I bring a 12th cat home, I'm pretty sure my husband's serving me with divorce papers, so I'm not risking it.
So this is really Linda's cat. I just take care of him.
So yes, I am in love with her cat.
Oh my gosh,
you were talking about everything that cats teach us and stuff, and so I have been, and I'm working on an article about it, but I have been. Had this epiphany one night that cats, I think all children should be raised in houses with cats, because cats teach us consent. If you think about, I've had dogs, and I remember when the kids were little and they're like climbing on the dog who's trying to eat, and the dog looks back at me with this pitiful face, like, will you please get this thing off my back? Yeah. Cat's like, ain't happening. And so you have to learn to watch the cat, and I have to tell my kids, we have a semi-feral cat, especially, that everybody wants to pet because we can't, and she's fluffy and pretty. Well, we can once in a while. Yeah, and so, gorgeous. It's really come at her from her level. Sit as she's sitting, whatever, put your hand out, let her say, okay, how's she acting? Oh, her ears went back off, child. We have really taught them to watch. And I think that every human being in the world needs to treat each other with that. I'm watching your body language. I'm saying that you're not feeling good about that. I'm backing off, right? I'm not pushing.
I think that's so true, that, you have to sort of learn to read the signs of these little creatures. And I think kids really can do it. And if they don't, then, they face the consequences.
That's
because cats, like among the other things that I think is fun about cats is like, we let them mildly assault us. If they don't like us, they'll give us they'll give you a scratch, and, we deserve it a lot of times. And I think it's just kind of, it's just adds to the silliness to me that we let these heavily armed little predators live in our houses with us and slash at our children, and we're like, oh,
exactly it's so cute, because they're not doing it out of anger or revenge, or because their motives are always pure. There's no other being on earth like that, right?
Exactly.
That's true. Even humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
people ask me often how my dog handles the cats. Well, first of all, I don't think she knows she's a dog. I'm pretty sure she's incredibly confused. And I'm
Yeah, she
responsible for
stands in the
years
litter
of
box.
doggy therapy. Yeah, one day she just stood in the litter box like, I've seen others do this. I feel like I should.
I think
Not
this is
really
the new,
sure.
the new trend.
I told her I'd pay her money if she'd actually pee or poop in it, so I didn't have to take her outside in the snow. But
no, that didn't happen.
Now
right,
that
she
would
wasn't helping
be
me out with that. But out of 11 cats, she has gone up to each one and tried to play with them and been biffed in the head, except one. Galway, orange boy on my bed behind me, is the only one that will allow her. And so she knows. You think she's gone back up to anybody else to try to play with them? No, she's not dumb. She's gonna get smacked upside the head. And she'll roll around with Galway and she'll her growl and really carry on like she's
fun.
doing something. And I keep looking at her thinking that cat could make a mess out of you with one swipe. You don't know.
Now,
Oh,
Sadie is a
yes.
Chihuahua, so Galway's bigger than her.
Yes,
my God.
yes. But yeah, but again, it's all about the cats. Sadie went up to 11 cats and said, will you play with me? No, okay, that's fine. Oh, I got one out of 11. Okay, please don't.
So
Yeah,
Linda, let's pivot the conversation a little bit. One thing that Linda and I, when we do behavior sessions, we often compare cats' behavior with the behavior of children.
Yes.
And Abigail, you've segued and you have written a book about children. Have you found similarities
About their impact
to-
on us more, isn't it? From what I was like, I think I need to read this book.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's about it's called Mom Genes, and it's about the way that the maternal transformation, reshapes parents and especially moms' brains. And one of the interesting things is that I learned about, and I wrote about this a little bit in the line in the living room, and I continued the thread in Mom Genes, is about the one reason that we're so basically 10,000 years ago, when we started becoming sedentary people and creating, instead of moving around the landscape, we're building settlements, we're making huge piles of trash, we're killing off all the top predators and ecosystems. And then all of a sudden there's this thing called a mesopredator release, where all these medium-sized predators like foxes and I think badgers and the wild ancestor of the house cat, Felis sylvestris libera, they're all coming rushing into our little villages and snatching our trash. And they were so little that we didn't bother to kill them, but it's kind of like the way we think of like raccoons today, where it's just like,
right,
oh, pests. Well, the question is, why did cats get to transform further, and why did they? Why don't we have pet fox? Why don't you have 11 foxes in your house? Or
oh, that would be chaos.
Good idea. Yeah,
they're like the same. They're the same size and everything. And one reason is that cats have a near perfect set of what is called baby releasers. So the human brain is geared to respond to the sight of an infant's face. And that infant's face is something that, it's two big eyes, it's a little snub nose, it's a short mouth, and cats have this face more than any other kind of animal.
I think I read that somewhere.
I was gonna say,
exactly.
Rita has told me this story once, and I'm like, I know where she got it from. Yep. Yes.
So in the Mom Genes, I went to these labs where they basically take moms, dads, and other people too, basically everyone, and they put them in these skull caps of wires, these EEG machines, to read their electrical readings of their scalps, and then they just like show them a bunch of baby pictures, and basically the human brain just kind of like goes wild for this set of features. And cats don't look like humans more than foxes do because they're any more closely related to us. It has their set of facial features has to do with the way they hunt. They have like these big round eyes close together because they're visual predators that are ambush predators, so they need really good binocular vision. They have short jaws because they do that whole sort of big push and tackle and grab on the neck. And it's just a happy accident for them. But it just showed, like, I got to basically burrow into the maternal brain and see deeper why we are so vulnerable to this set of features, why we find them to be so visually arresting, and a little bit more about sort of I have this interest in why cats took over the internet rather than other animals, and a whole bunch of kind of crazy theories about that. But so that's one sort of common thread, the fact that I learned more about the complete power of the baby releaser over the human brain. And then the other thing was that I just kind of learned about maternal behavior in a lot of different kinds of animals. And we were talking about, dogs are sort of our ultimate, I don't want to say they're not our prisoners, but they're our dependents. They depend on us for food, for love, for social structure, all these things. Whereas your cat, silly and helpless as it looks, like you could plop it outside and it has a good chance of surviving. And the other thing that it has a good chance of doing is raising a litter of kittens in nature without any help from people. And dogs, it turns out, like, even though there are a lot of places in the world where there are packs of street dogs, it turns out that those animals are actually not that good at raising litters of kittens in the wild. They tend to sort of recruit new members, like their dogs keep getting out and the packs keep getting bigger, but the packs are not so good at having babies in alleys and growing them to adulthood. And so basically I learned a little bit about how the process of domestication can erode maternal instincts in animals. And one reason that cats are just like taking the world by storm is that they play it both ways. They can get along in our houses, but their wild instincts and their maternal instincts are more or less intact. So they can, conquer a random rainforest in the middle of nowhere and have a bunch of tiny kittens there, and they'll grow up and, eat all the endangered seabirds.
Exactly.
That's just how they do.
Yes.
That's so true, because we're always telling people, that these behaviors and these instincts that they do are just, they're so ingrained into their natural psyche. They're not doing anything to hurt you and everything to help themselves. There's reasons behind everything, and it's all got to do with the survival and the fact that they're still pretty wild in nature, really.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Still operating by instincts. I don't know how many times somebody asks a question and the answer starts with, in nature, cats are both predator and prey. 8 million times I have made that statement. And if you can't go back, you're just accepting this creature into your house like it's a small dog or any other animal, you're got trouble, because they're just such different and unique creatures. And until you can understand them and why they do the things they do, you're just creating more problems. And we like our clients to know too, because, if your kid gets mad at you and just dumps that red Kool-Aid on you're mad because he was being a jerk, right? So if you think that your cat peed on your bed because your cat's a jerk, you're mad at your cat. You can't fix the problem and come together when you're in a negative space. You got to understand it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I talked to, trying to remember the context exactly, but, the way that our cats get stressed out in tiny apartment spaces. And basically, I think I talked to, I'm trying to recall this part of the book, but a veterinarian who took like all of the worst case scenario behavior problem cats who were just tearing up their owners' houses, peeing and pooping everywhere, total disasters. And he basically, I believe, took them away from their owners. And even though the owners were trying to shower them with love and hugs and all this stuff, and he like put each one of these like lost cause cats into a small cage and just did everything at the same time every day, came to feed them the same time every day, gave them all the same, the routine. And that is a huge parallel with little kids. Routine is everything. And so basically what he found was that, these cats who, some of them were on the verge of being euthanized, their behaviors were so terrible. He found it was like, the awakening or something. He found just by changing the environment that the animals were in and giving them a sense of order, that they metamorphosized overnight into almost like different creatures. And it's funny because it's almost like the people who had these cats were like the most likely to kind of, they loved them so much that they almost messed up. It's like if your
Yes.
cat is under the couch, then it might not always be the best thing to drag the cat out from
It's
under
like the
couch.
worst thing to drag
It's
the
the
cat
worst
out.
thing to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
And
Predator, I'm going to be eaten.
Yes.
Right.
exactly.
I tell people, if you
exactly.
were, you're in the middle of the night, you hear a noise, a bad guy has broken in, you go and hide in your closet and dial 911. How excited are you going to be when the door opens and a hand comes through?
Oh my gosh.
That's what you're doing to your cat when it's under the
Terrifying.
bed. I went to hide. You can't come after me.
I mean,
Leave me alone.
some of these stories were they're both sad and funny. Like this one man who had a beautiful apartment and his cat was so unhinged that he started wearing these special pants made out of like bulletproof material. And he also gave
Kevlar.
his cat his Kevlar, yes. And he gave his cat his master bedroom that had this magnificent view. And he was just like doing everything he could. But then sometimes it's like, no, the cat doesn't really care about the view of downtown LA. It just
Right.
wants his food at like, the same time every day, and like not for you to have 10 parties a week or whatever. Like,
Yes.
it's about so cats can survive in any kind of environment. That's why they've outlasted the lions. That's why they're so successful today. But our homes, though we think of them as being like the cushiest spots, can actually be the most challenging places for cats.
For sure.
And by modifying the environment, we can modify the cat's behavior. And by kind of doing
Yes.
things, thinking of it from a cat's eye view, I guess, and kind of, doing the thing of having the extra litter box, or who wants an extra litter box? Not me really, but the cat does.
Tell me about it.
It has, these are solitary animals by nature, and we have to sort of meet them on their terms, and they can also kind of meet us and learn how to communicate with us, but it just
yes.
isn't quite as natural for them as it is for dogs at first.
Yes.
For some cats.
I have a few cats that will tap
Yeah.
me on the shoulder to get my attention. I find that hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah, I have this new little kitty I have. We had to, most of my cats have been from shelters, and especially just like shelter kittens. This new one is she's called a Siberian. She's so cute. I wish she would, of course she will not come out now if I want her, but
so beautiful.
She's lovely, but we had to get her because we have a super allergic family member.
Yes.
And so we needed to show, that we cared very much. And we got this, not free cat, which is like sort of 100 years ago, people could not believe that anyone would ever pay money for a cat. We actually paid money for a cat.
I get it.
And it was the right thing to do. But the interesting thing is that she is different than the other cats I have. And I'm not sure that if it's because, there's two things it could be. Well, three things. It could just be her. It could be the fact that, this is a business for somebody. And so they spent a ton of extra time socializing her in that critical window of kittenhood.
I'm sure.
Where I think like a lot of my other kittens had just been like in a box somewhere.
Sure, that
farm.
Yes.
Or it could be that with some of these little breeds, we have actually made progress in terms of like modifying their behavior and the way that they relate with us, because I have never met a more social cat. And it sort of floored me because a lot of my cats have been,
well, if you think about how a breed's created, though, inbreeding and inbreeding. So those same genes,
just the friendly genes, they're just, it's just a little bit shocking. I've met a lot of cats, and, it's probably a combination of breeding for social behaviors, which can happen within, the famous Russian fox farm experiment. They bred these, I think they were silver foxes. Instead of breeding them for nice fur or whatever, they were breeding them before they started breeding them for temperament. And within only a few generations, the foxes had become much more dog-like. And they also started to change in terms of the way that they looked. They started like developing these floppy ears a little bit.
I was going to say the ears, because that is a giveaway. I've told you that.
Yeah, you have told me that. Yes.
The
you were like,
domestication
I read
syndrome.
it.
Is it in that book? I remember when you read that and you were like, look at dogs, look at cats, look, this is right. Yeah, she was very excited about that. Yeah.
You still have the ears.
Yes, exactly. Yes. There's so much in that book. And I do relate with the mom genes. I tell Rita all the time because she'll say, I don't have kids. And I'll say, oh, you've had kids. You just haven't had human kids.
Well, I find
know?
it interesting that cat owners tend to call themselves cat parents and dog
Yes,
owners are
yes.
dog owners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
think that's because they look so much like babies, and even
Yeah.
a
They
kitten
do.
crying sounds like a baby.
Very much. Yes. Yes. More than I think their meows have sort of changed to sound more childlike over time, which is
Uh-huh.
interesting. And also like
Yes.
just the weight of a cat. Like I always hold my cats like in a cradle, or not always, but you know, if they like it, I'll
Yes.
hold them like that to tote them around the house. And it's the same weight. Like it's like an 8 or 10 pound cat.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, a newborn. And they're so
Mhm.
soft. Like,
And they
you know,
snuggle in
babies.
close and you can
Yeah.
feel their breath. And
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I don't think Dexter fits the 8 to 10 pound category.
No.
now he's a little above that.
He's a
but yeah.
pretty big boy.
A burly guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gonna be a big old Tom. I keep telling you that.
And
Yes.
we could keep talking and talking and talking. We've gone over 30 minutes,
knew you were
but
gonna
I
tell me
want to
that.
make sure that we wrap this up. And Abigail, I want your new book. Sounds like there's a lot of wonderful insights in that book as well.
Yes.
Oh, thank you
Yes.
guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, and available on Amazon. We've got abigailtucker.com. Where else can they
Right.
find you? What else do they need to know about you?
That's pretty much it. I think the books are available wherever books are sold, but I
Yes.
appreciate it, guys. This has been so much fun. I love going back to cats. Moms are interesting, but cats are even more interesting.
Yes, agreed. Well, I was just so excited when you wrote back because I thought I'm gonna try to see if I can get Abigail Tucker for Rita, and
Yeah,
I
she
was so
surprised
happy.
me. She surprised me.
Yeah, I didn't tell her I was doing it. So yeah, so she was.
Your guys has had too good of a
overjoyed.
name. I could not say
Ah,
no
that's
to
what it
somebody with
is.
such
See,
a
it's all
cool
in the
name.
name. It's all in the name. They can't pass us up because of the name.
Well, anytime you're doing anything, you want to promote anything, you want to talk about anything, you're welcome to come back. I know
Yes,
there's
you
so
are.
much more about the cat psyche that we could dive into. And
Yes.
I'd
it's
love
just
that.
all pets in general. It's fascinating how each and every species has come into our lives.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. And get the lion in the living room. There's a reason it was on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, it'll give you
Because
some
there's-
great insight.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up here, but I have to thank Abigail Tucker, author of my favorite book, The Lion in the Living Room. If you don't have it, please get it. Thank you so much for appearing on our podcast. Linda Hall, as always, my best friend and
My pleasure.
cohort, my partner in all things. And of course, Mark Winter for putting our show on Pet Life Radio. We have to give him a big, huge thank you. Please visit our website, catbehavioralliance.com, if you need cat behavior help. We are turning our company into a 501c3 nonprofit, and soon we will be building Sadie's Heart Cat Sanctuary and Outreach. So please find out more about that on our website too. Until next time, remember, every day is Catter Day.